Emily was a nurse. Not just any nurse, the kind who worked double shifts, skipped her own meals, and smiled through exhaustion, just to make her patients feel a little less alone. She lived in a small one-bedroom apartment on the edge of town, barely making enough to cover rent and groceries. The bills stacked up month after month, her shoes had holes, her scrubs were faded, and yet she never once let her patients see her struggles. To the world, Emily looked like she had it together. But behind closed doors, she sat at her little kitchen table, staring at unpaid electricity bills, wondering how she would keep the lights on. Nursing had never been about money for her, it was about helping people. Still, life was beginning to feel heavy, almost unbearable. One cold November evening, after finishing a long night shift, Emily was walking home. The streets were nearly empty, the air biting against her tired face. That's when she saw him, a man sitting on the curb outside a closed bakery, dressed in torn rags, shivering violently. His hair was messy, his shoes looked like they were falling apart, and his hands trembled as he tried to warm them with his breath. Most people passed by quickly, avoiding his eyes. Emily slowed her steps, hesitated. She had almost nothing to give. But something inside her wouldn't let her walk away. She crouched beside him and softly asked, "Sir, are you okay? Do you need help?" His eyes lifted slowly. There was something unusual about them, deep, kind, but heavy with sadness. He gave a small nod, barely able to speak. Emily looked at the coffee cup clutched in his hands, empty, no coins inside. She only had $5 left in her pocket, money she had been saving for bread and milk. But she pressed it into his hands anyway. "Here, please, let me get you something warm." She walked quickly into a corner store, and bought him a hot sandwich and a cup of coffee. When she returned, his eyes glistened with gratitude. He whispered, "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." Emily smiled faintly. "Because everyone deserves kindness. I can't give much, but I can give this." That night, she didn't just hand him food. She sat beside him, listening. He told her he had fallen on hard times, that he had once had a decent job but lost everything. Emily didn't judge him. She simply listened and comforted him, telling him that no one's story ends in the streets, that tomorrow could still bring something better. When she finally left, she wrapped her scarf around his neck. "Keep this," she said softly. "It'll keep you warm tonight." Then she walked home in the freezing air with nothing around her own neck but the wind. She never saw him again, at least, not for a while. Days turned into weeks. Emily's own life grew harder. One morning, she received a letter taped to her door, a notice of eviction, if she didn't pay her rent soon. She sat on the floor of her apartment, holding the letter, tears sliding down her face. She had given so much of herself to others, yet life seemed to give her nothing back. Still, she went to work with the same gentle smile, caring for patients, as though they were her family. Her kindness never dimmed, even when her world was falling apart. Then, one snowy afternoon, as Emily was leaving the hospital, she noticed a sleek black car parked near the entrance. A driver stepped out and approached her. "Miss Emily?" he asked politely. Confused, she nodded. He handed her an elegant envelope. Inside was a letter written in beautiful handwriting, to the nurse, who gave without asking for anything in return. "Please meet me at Rosewood Park at sunset, a friend." Her heart raced with curiosity and a touch of fear. Who could it be? She almost didn't go, but something in her heart urged her forward. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in gold and purple, Emily walked into the quiet park. There, by the fountain, stood a man dressed in a sharp suit, his back turned to her. When he turned around, Emily froze. It was him, the man in rags. Only now, he looked entirely different. His hair was neatly combed, his coat tailored, his presence commanding. She stammered, I don't understand." The man smiled gently, his eyes the same ones she had seen that night, deep and kind. "My name is Daniel," he said softly. "I'm not homeless. I'm actually the owner of a few companies. A millionaire, if you want the title." That night, I was walking the city in disguise, trying to understand how people treat those who seem to have nothing. Almost everyone ignored me. Except you. Emily's breath caught. Daniel stepped closer, his voice warm. "You didn't just give me money or food. You gave me dignity. You sat with me, you spoke to me, as if I mattered. Do you know how rare that is?" Tears welled in Emily's eyes. "I just did what anyone should do." Daniel shook his head. "No. Most people don't. But you did. And that night, something in me changed. I realized I didn't just want to thank you, I wanted to keep you in my life." Then, to Emily's shock, Daniel knelt down on one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. Inside was a simple, elegant ring that shimmered under the fading light. "Emily, I know this is sudden. But I've seen your heart. I've seen your kindness. You are the kind of person I want to spend my life with. Will you marry me?" The world seemed to stop. Emily's tears fell freely now, her hands trembling as she covered her mouth in disbelief. She thought of her empty apartment, her unpaid bills, her quiet nights of loneliness, and then of the moment she had chosen kindness despite her own struggles. Slowly, through tears, she whispered, "Yes." Daniel slipped the ring onto her finger, and in that moment, the weight of her struggle seemed to lift. For the first time in years, Emily felt truly seen, truly valued. That winter, Emily's life transformed. Not because of wealth or luxury, but because she had found love rooted in kindness. She continued nursing, not out of necessity, but out of passion, this time with someone who supported her, who cherished her selfless heart. And every night, as she held Daniel's hand, she remembered the night she gave away her last $5 and her only scarf, never knowing it would change her life forever. Because sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness plant the seeds for the most extraordinary miracles. So if you believe in kindness, love, and second chances, let Emily's story remind you, what you give to the world always finds its way back to you. And if this story touched your heart, make sure to subscribe for more stories that remind us all of